let's do this small exercise. So, first column is what I know. That means before we began the study of Jainism, what I already knew, then what I want to know, and then what I have learned so far. Okay, so let's begin. So before the course, what did you know? Okay, maybe the sects. Okay, the two sects you all knew. Anything else you all knew? Okay, Tirthankaras, non-violence. Anything else?
Regarding the Jain.
Yeah, regarding Jainism, what did you all know? Okay, you knew about rebirth. Good. Okay, statue. Okay, vows. Okay. Now, let's come to what you have learned during the course so far. So, what have you learned in the last classes? Okay, in a way, his history, then okay, vows, scriptures, then okay, one by one. God and soul, good. Yeah, that will come in the scriptures. Enlightenment, okay. Okay, that is okay. Founder. Community, okay. That's enough for now. Okay. Now, what do you all want to know still? Okay, good question. Okay, some rituals maybe. Style of life. Okay. Okay. Okay, why cover mouths? Then why rigorous processes? Okay, so apart from this, we'll also take a look at the epistemology and bit of metaphysics of Jainism. Okay, so this is basically what we'll take a look in the next 4 classes. So, in this picture, what do you all see? Observe closely. Okay, so let's say privacy is there. Okay, now think of it in the larger context. What does this privacy, security, what does it have to do with? it comes under a broader category, right? When we speak about privacy, when we speak about security, when we speak about conduct, say, or behavior, personal. Okay, let's take a look at another picture. Anything? Community, okay. Diversity. Okay, all this is good. Now, wanted to think a little bit more. Now, when we have diversity and when we live together, what is something that is very important? Trust, understanding, okay, but still deeper? Can you all? Yes, unity and all, but to live in a community, you require something, right? Ethics, okay, in the sense, you need certain ways of behavior, rules and regulations. So today, we'll take a look at the Jaina ethics. Okay, and here when we look at Jaina ethics, this we say is the most important element of Jaina philosophy. Now you may ask, okay, you said we have to do epistemology, we have to deal with metaphysics also, and how come are we saying that ethics is the only main or important part of Jaina philosophy? Now for this we need to understand, in Jainism, what is the most important aspect of a person's character? Yes, but can you go a little bit deeper into that? Yeah, little bit deeper. Okay, go a little bit deeper. What does all that this thing? Okay, non-violence is one thing, but what does that come and do? What is the broader category? Okay, moral values, yes. Still, beliefs, okay. There is something under a broader category, right? Can we speak about behavior or conduct? So we see that in Jainism, the conduct is given a lot of importance. As we saw yesterday, you have the right faith, right knowledge, right conduct. Because it is through your actions that you can either do good or you can do bad. So therefore conduct is given a lot of importance. Now we see that when it comes to Jainism, metaphysics or epistemology is useful. We are not saying that it is not useful at all, but it is useful only in so far as it gives the person knowledge or insights that can guide his conduct or behavior. Okay, and therefore, what is the goal of your conduct, your actions, your behavior, what it is supposed to lead you to? Liberation. Okay, so ultimately, the goal is liberation. So now, when we come to Jainism, apart from the 5 vows, there are 12 principles or 12 vows, if we may say, for lay persons. So these we can say are in a way kind of guidelines that are supposed to help lay people to follow a life of spiritual discipline. Okay, then these also help people to know what is important when you live a life of self-restraint. That means how much of fasting or what about the ascetic practices that need to be followed. Okay, so basically it guides lay people and helps them in their ethical conduct. So now let's take a look at these 12 principles or these 12 vows in little bit of detail. Some of it we have already done. Now when it comes to the first 5, okay, so non-violence, we all know, okay, not causing harm to any living being, refraining from telling lies, which aligns with the vow of truth. Then also refrain from taking anything which is not given. What will this mean? Non-stealing. Then you also have refraining from sexual activities. Now when we speak about lay people, we said this relates to fidelity. Okay, so this is something which we have already dealt with. Now we come to something that is new. Limiting one's possessions. Okay, so that means now you may say when you are not supposed to possess anything. For the monks, for the nuns, it may very well work because they have to live a very ascetic life. What about lay people in the world? Okay, if you want to go for work, you require certain things. You require maybe a vehicle at home for you as a husband or as a wife to fulfill the responsibility. You need certain things. Then how does this limiting one's possession make sense? Any thoughts? Yes, good. So we see that only what is required. So this implies avoiding materialism. That means you don't only keep on collecting things, okay, and hoarding things, but whatever is required you collect, and the excess is supposed to be donated. So whether it is household items, whether it is clothing, these are supposed to be donated to charity rather than just collecting and keeping them. Next, you have limiting the area of acts that are not virtuous. So in other words, this would refer to restricting or limiting activities that can harm others. So an example of this could be reducing or stopping gossiping or bad mouthing others. Also it could be person may choose to walk or take public transport to his workplace or may engage in carpooling to reduce the carbon footprint. Okay, so therefore reducing or limiting acts that are not virtuous, because we see that even by pollution you are causing harm to the environment. Next is limiting the quality of things that could be used once or repeatedly. So when we speak about this one, so here it is also not wasting. Okay, in simple words, not wasting. For example, person may think about limiting using gadgets, or person in this case again not wasting time on gadgets, not wasting time on social media, etc. Not wasting of food, not also wasting of things that they have. If it can be used more than once, making proper use of those things. Next, also refrain from harmful activities. Now this would basically refer to any violent acts, okay, such as killing, murder, stealing, anything that is not useful, anything that is harmful. Okay, so they are also supposed to abstain from these harmful activities. Next, we see that remaining or maintaining a calm and balanced state of mind, that is completely equanimous for a fixed period of time. That means, in a way, engaging in activities that helps to keep a calm and balanced mind. So here, what are the activities? One could be meditation, that can help the individuals to calm themselves, or maybe engage in some breathing exercises, etc. Next, also limit the area set forth in the sixth vow. Now the sixth vow basically had something to do with activities, reducing the activities that are not useful. So here, therefore, again, this is in a way related to the sixth vow, wherein you try to reduce certain activities which you feel are not useful. So here, in certain cases, we have examples where they also restrict their movement during certain times of the year. The next vow is observing fast and living like a monk for certain days. So, yeah, in the sense that if something is not really necessary, okay, they would not probably go. So they would confine themselves to a particular place, because as we see, even if you're walking somewhere or traveling somewhere, you're also kind of killing some microorganisms and all these things. So therefore you have this whole thing will come later, where they also will have a broom. No, it is only for the monks. We'll come to that later when we deal with non-violence for them. So yes, next is also observing fast. So for specific days or for a few days, they may also observe certain things like what the monks do. That means, that is fasting or wearing simple clothing, and also spending time in prayer. So this is just in a way to help them kind of get to know what also is the life of a monk. So basically these few activities, a few times or few days in a year, they may also do it. Next also you have the sharing of food and resources, especially with the needy. Okay, so something that you would rather categorize as charity. Okay, that is giving your food, resources once in a while to charity, or also inviting monks to your place. That is why we see that the whole community is in a way quite self-sustaining. Because we see that the monks, as we saw last time when we dealt with the community, the monks and the nuns, for them things are provided, whether it is material help or other help, by the laypersons. And for the laypersons, you have guidance, spiritual help, as well as advice given by the monks and the nuns. Now next, the last part that we need to do is the Pancha Vrathas. So again, the kind of 5 vows in little bit more detail, but this is with regards to the lay persons. So first is ahimsa, and this is the most important. Okay, of all the 5, this one is the most important. And this is based on love and mercy towards all living beings. So here, when we speak about abstinence from all injury, that means you avoid injury to everything that moves, as well as to things that doesn't move. For example, plants, trees, and beings which basically inhabit the earth. Secondly, we see that harm should also be practiced, or non-harming should be practiced in thought, word and deed. That means you don't think ill about others, you don't speak ill, and you don't do ill to others. Now when it comes to the application of this vow, there is a variation. Okay, so you may ask, what is this variation? So when it comes to the lay people, there is a kind of a limited application because lay people are expected to follow this vow with regards to their daily lives and responsibility. So that means, let's take an example. A person, say person A, might refrain from eating meat, okay? He might refrain from harming animals. He may not kill, or he may not do anything that harms people as well. But by profession, he is a farmer. Okay, now do you think being a farmer, he still practices non-violence? Okay, how many say yes? Others? Why? Okay, so good. So when they uses pesticides, pest, whether it is useful or non-useful, still a living creature, right? Secondly, when you are digging, for example, you find earthworms. Okay, so suddenly unknowingly you may kill something. So in this case we see that now since he is a farmer And since he has to do these things, there are some kind of exceptions. So therefore we speak about the limited application. So for him it will not be considered as something bad, because why? It is part of his work. Okay. Secondly, also, for example, if there is a person, if you are traveling far off distance, you cannot go walking, you have to use the local transport, or in this way we see pollution is caused, some creatures, microorganisms also get killed. So in this way we see that there is a limited application for lay people, whereas for the ascetics for the monks and the nuns, this has to be followed in complete detail. Now, answering the question, we see that a monk or a nun will not eat even the root. Why is that? Okay, but what is basically, when you remove the root of something, what is happening? You are killing the tree. Okay. Secondly, we also see that they will sweep the ground before walking. And why is that? To prevent stepping on any ant or maybe some insect or worm. Okay, that is there. They will also strain the water before drinking. Okay, to make sure there is no microorganism present there. So when it comes to the monks and the nuns, it is followed very strictly. But for the lay people, there are some exceptions here and there, because obviously they are also working, they cannot expect to spend so much time in all these small minute details. Who? The monks, you are saying. See, they have to be very careful. So by mistake if it happens, then, but anyway, most likely it doesn't happen. Okay. So I mean, see, obviously the very fact also, maybe you can reason it out like this. You have done what you are supposed to do. Okay. Still if something happens, that is not beyond your control. For example, they are supposed to strain the water, he has strained. If something falls over there without his knowing it, I mean, you cannot do anything. So in that case, I think what I would look at it is, you do what you are supposed to do. Beyond that, if it is not in your control, then you cannot do anything. Okay. Any living things, they say. Any living things, it is said specifically. For them, it would be with regards to only the situation will be different. Okay, when we'll do liberation, we'll come to that. But as of now, to answer the question, it is like, suppose if you are born as a person, whatever you do affects your situation around you. Similarly, for example, animal or organism, it will affect the context in which they are. So a good thing, they'll be in a very peaceful situation, or otherwise it will be the contrary. So purposefully, if he is or not, if he happens to kill somebody, it gets back to us. Yeah. So those acts as the particles then, which we saw yesterday. Okay. So next we need to look at is truth. So this is pretty straightforward. It is abstinence from anything that is false, and when you are talking or when you are speaking, you are expected to use pleasant and good words. And also it is said in a way that perfect maintenance of this vow, if one wants to maintain this vow in the best possible manner, you also need to avoid greed, fear and anger. Non-stealing. So this also pretty straightforward in the sense that apart from stealing physical things, you also have abstinence from evil practices. Okay, and this is especially with regards to maintaining the sanctity of property or the place. So what do we understand by sanctity? So giving something its due respect. So for example, when we have sanctity of the place, for example, in a formal gathering, okay, you come dressed for the occasion, right? So for example, in the chapel, let's say, okay, because of the holiness of the place, you will not come with your shorts or games clothes, etc., right, for mass. You will come with a proper attire. Similarly, when you are using the table, obviously it has its own particular purpose, its own particular respect. So in this way, you maintain the sanctity of or the value of what you are using. Now, chastity here for lay people, it would mean any form of self-indulgence. Okay, so they are supposed to be faithful to their spouses, and therefore they are supposed to have purity in marriage. Now, when it comes to ascetics, obviously, or when it comes to the monks, nuns, it is stricter in the sense of celibacy. And in the next one now, there is a kind of a difference between householders or lay people and the ascetics. Now, when we speak about attachment or in a way not having any possessions, for the ascetics it is very strict. Okay, so they renounce all material as well as sensory pleasures. So for example, a Jain monk will have minimal belonging. So for example, he may have a broom, a pot of water, and simple clothing. So in a way, this takes care of the material possessions. Sensory pleasures. What can we mean by sensory pleasures? Okay, so no luxurious food, maybe no listening to music or something which gives pleasure to the senses. And the last we'll take a look at for the householders. Now here it is said, practice of detachment as much as possible. You have to fulfill your responsibility. Okay, but while doing that, you need to minimize both material possessions as well as sensory pleasures. So for example, let's take the example of a laptop. So now a lay person, married person, what are his responsibilities? What is the responsibility of a married person? Okay, take care of the family. To take care of the family, he has to earn. So for that, he may require a laptop or a gadget for his work. So that is again to fulfill his responsibility, he can own one. Okay. At the same time, he needs to not use it for any sensory pleasures. Okay, watching something or using it for music or films, etc. So that is what we call as minimizing sensory pleasures as well as material possessions. At the same time, he also has to donate the excess. Live modestly and also practice generosity, because this helps them to focus on their spiritual goals. Okay, so if this is clear, let us reflect, take down these questions. Okay, and think about it. Next Friday will also touch upon these. Okay, first one is, how does the principle of ahimsa in Jainism influence daily lives of householders and ascetics differently? Basically, what is the difference for the two? And what philosophical implications does this have in our understanding of non-violence as a universal virtue? Next one is, in what ways does the vow of abstinence from all attachment reflect the broader goal of Jain ethics? And how can householders balance worldly responsibilities with these vows? So we have seen this already, but what else do you think can be done? And finally, how do the 12 vows facilitate the layperson's path to spiritual discipline? What challenges do you think may arise in today's world? So the 12 vows are there. How difficult or how challenging it is to practice them today? Okay, so with this we shall end for today.